We're out here in the woods. We're going to talk about something I learned a long time ago for navigation. And in case you're in the woods without a map or your GPS goes dead, you can hike around with a couple tools and a compass, and you can find your way back to your four-wheeler or wherever you're at. So we're going to gather up some stuff and I'll show you exactly what you need. Alright, so I gathered up a couple things. You're going to need a handful of sticks, a notepad and a pencil so you can keep up with bearing and direction, compass, and I had this laying around, so I'm going to use this for our scale, and you probably want metric, and we'll just talk about it as we go. Okay. And I forgot to mention, you're going to want beads or some sort of form to keep up with paces. You want to count your paces as you walk. And then you write down how many paces you walked on your notepad with the direction you went. So, okay, we'll talk about it as we go. We're just going to go at 180 degrees south. Of course, you put your red in the shed on your compass, and you follow that direction and count your paces. And whenever you get ready to turn, go a different direction, you write it down on your notebook. Alright, so we walked 57 paces at 180 degrees. So from here, we're going to switch a direction and follow it out, and then you write it down again. Alright, so we decided to go 120 degrees southeast. So you dial it in and you follow your compass, put red in the shed. And you follow that until you get to your desired amount of paces, or if you want to turn, go somewhere else, and you mark it down again. Alright, let's go. So we did a couple stops already, and we've walked 75 paces at 120 degrees and 85 paces at 160 degrees. And we're fixing to decide our next angle and go look around as we go. And we'll talk about it more later. All right. Alright, for those of y'all don't know what a pace is, you step and then you count. And you step, count. So it'd be like 1, 2. And then you figure up your factor, which mine is 1.75, and you times that by your paces, and that gives you how many meters you've walked. So we're gonna continue going. Alright, so we have come to a creek, and we don't want to really jump over the thing, so we're going to switch directions. But anyway, this is what we got so far. We've walked several different degrees and marked everything down. And just for a tip, whenever, because you got to count your paces going through the woods, so you're concentrating on that. So if you take your compass and you point it towards a tree, the direction you're going, then you kind of can watch the tree as you're walking. You can look around while you're counting. That way you don't, lose focus, and then you have to start over. Then you'll get lost, and then someone like me will have to go find you. All right, we're gonna continue and figure it out from there. All right, so we made it to a point where we want to try to find our way back to the four-wheeler. And there's two ways you can go about doing this. You can back azimuth off of each one of these and back trace, which if you did it perfectly, you'll find your way back to the four-wheeler. Or we're gonna make us a map on the ground, and that's where the sticks and the string come in. So we're gonna clear out a spot and we'll get started. All right, so we got our dirt cleared out. You want it nice and clean so you can kind of see what you're doing. We got our sticks. We got our string line. Got our notes. Got our compass. You want to take your first note. You're reading.
Daddy, we have 3 notes.
And you set it to your compass. And you set your compass on a map, or on your dirt map. And you put your red in the shed, and your first stick is going to represent your four-wheeler. You stick it right here on the edge of your compass. And then, before you really get started on your map, you're going to have to convert all your paces into meters. So before I told you my factor was 1.75 for my paces for 100 meters. So what I do, I times all my paces by my factor, and I get my number. I get my meters. And let me figure all this up real quick, and we'll get started. Alright, so for starters, you need to get smaller sticks. The ones the kids picked out a while ago were too big because you're messing with this little bitty string. Anyway, we got our tape, and we got our sticks. This is our four-wheeler. We walked 100 meters. Get your tape and you run. Our scale is going to be 10 centimeters equals 100 meters. So it might be kind of small scale, but anyway, we'll get her done. And your second stick represents where you stopped and changed directions to our next, which was 120 at 75 paces, which is 129 meters. So you measure that, get your string on it, set your compass on it. You set your compass at 120. Maybe y'all can see that. And then you set it on that stick. And then you put your red in the shed. Then you measure 129 meters to your scale. And then you just continue on each stick until you get to our stopping point, which is here. And then you got your direction back to your four-wheeler. So we're going to get it done, and we'll turn it back on whenever we finish it and see what we got. Okay, so we got our map put together. Let me move this thing around so y'all can see a little better. Anyway, this was our four-wheeler. The green string, if you can see it, it represents where we walked. That's supposed to be up against there, but That's okay. We got our ending. Now we mapped out with the compass and the measuring tape each piece. We had 10
No, we haven't happened.
different points that we stopped. I would recommend when you're starting out not to do like 4 or 5 points for practice, because it kind of messes with your brain a little bit for starters. Anyway, since we got our last point, what we'll do, we'll run our string line from there to our four-wheeler. I don't know if you can see that green string or not. And then you take your compass.
Done.
I think y'all can see that. Anyway, you take your compass and you stick it on your last point, which is this stick. Oh, almost dropped you guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Alright, we'll get situated here in a minute. And you set it on your string line. Get it as close as possible. You rotate your compass until red is in the shed. And that'll give you your bearing back to the four-wheeler. If you can see that. So you get your compass up, and now if we walk that direction, we will find our four-wheeler, hopefully. We'll get back at it. Yeah, and another thing, if you want to do just for fun, you get your roll back out and you put it on your last point that you made on your notes, and you measure it to your first point, which is your four-wheeler, and which in this case we're sitting at 10, 20, 30, 40, and that scale was 10 per 100. So yeah, we're at 400 meters. So if I paste it out, that should be 400 meters to the four-wheeler, and if I start pacing, I get 500 meters or 600, I know something went wrong and I bypassed my four-wheeler. Then you'll be in trouble. Then you might have to get your GPS out. But yeah, we're going to measure it and see how close we were. See if we got our degrees right. And I guess if we make it back, y'all have a video. Here we are. Walk back perfectly to the four-wheeler. Alright, here we are. We made it back to the four-wheeler. And I know these woods around here are pretty good. And it was funny because about halfway through our 400 meter walk back, I was like, we're going to come out a little bit north from where the four-wheeler is. And but sure enough, I kept following the compass and we nailed it perfectly. And that's what they always taught me when I was learning all this stuff, is if you do everything right and all your math right, always trust your instruments, because like I said, I knew these woods, and like anybody else I would have said, I think we need to go a little bit north, and we would have missed it. But Yeah, there we are. We made it back. We'll have to do it again sometime.